Hi friends, I am Ashraf Ali and today we will discuss about definitions in our Latex software, in which we will discuss about new command and new renew command, provide a command, new counter allocating a counter, new length allocating a length, new save box allocating a box, new environment and renew environment, and new theorem, new font, define a new font, and protect definitions. Latex has support for making a new commands for of many different kinds. And friends, don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thanks. Number one is new command and renew command. Redefine a new command. Number two is provide command. Define a command if name not used. New counter, define a new counter. New length, define a new length. New save box, define a new save box. Number six is new environment, renew environment and renew environment, define a new environment. Number seven is new theorem, define a new theorem like environment. Number 8, new font, define a new font name. Number 9 is protect using tricky commands. Number 1 is new command and renew command. New command and renew command defined and redefined a command respectively, which synopses are new command of CMD of Nargis and of Targ default and defen, and new command static of CMD and square brackets nargs square brackets of dark default and curly brackets defen. Similarly, and for renew command and renew command static. The static form of these two commands requires that the arguments not contain multiple paragraphs of text not long in plain text terms. CMD required the command name. It must begin with backslash. For new command, it must not be already defined and must not begin with backslash, and for the new command it must already be defined. Nargs optional and integer from 0 to 9 specifying the number of arguments that the command will take if this argument is not present. The default is for the command to have no arguments. When redefining the command, the new version can have a different number of arguments than the old version. Targ default optional. If this argument is present, then the first argument of defined command is backslash cmd is optionally with default value of targ default, which may be the empty string. If this argument is not present, then this backslash cmd does not take an optional argument. That is, if backslash cmd is used for with square brackets following as in cmd of my well, then within defen of hash of 1 number of 1 expands my well, while if cmd is called without square brackets following, then the within defen the number of 1 expands to the default of targ default. In either case, any required arguments will be referred to the starting with the hash of 2 of meeting of square brackets. My well in the call is different from having the square brackets with no contents as in square brackets. The former result is in hash number of 1 expanding to optarg default. The latter result is number hash of 1 expanding to the empty string. Defen the text to be substituted for every occurrence of cmd. A construct of the form hash of n in defen is replaced by the text of the nth argument. A command with no argument that is followed in the source by a space will swallow that space. The solution is to type of square curly brackets after the command and before the space. A simple example of the defining a new command of curly brackets backslash gh of curly brackets gm hef of braces of Firaun causes the abbreviation of backslash gh to be replaced by the longer text. Redefining a command is basically the same renew command of quad symbol and backslash small quad. Here the command definition that uses arguments. Backslash new command of curly brackets backslash def reference of square brackets 1 definition tailed backslash def of number 1 braces end. Then backslash def reference of def colon basis will expand to something like definition tail 2.7182, an example with two arguments. Backslash new command of curly braces mbym of square brackets 2 curly braces number of 1 backslash of times and number of 2 is invoked as nbym of 2 of k, an example with optional arguments. Backslash new command of square brackets salutation of square brackets 1 sir or madam. Curly braces dear number of 1 colon, then the salutation gives dear sir or madam, while salutation Ashraf gives dear Ashraf and salutation gives dear. The braces around defen do not delimit the scope of the result of expanding defen, so new command of curly braces ship name square brackets of 1 and curly brackets backslash it of number of 1 is wrong since in this sentence. The ship name of braces monitor met the shipping of Virginia. The word met the will incorrectly be in italics. An extra pair of braces new command of ship name of square brackets 1 braces backslash it of number 1 fixes it. Number 2 is provide command. Defines a command as long as no command of this name already exists. Its synopses are provide command cmd nurgs obderg default and defen. Similarly for static. If no command of this name already exists, then this has the same effect as new command. If a command of this name already exists, then this definition does nothing. This is particularly useful in a style file or other file that may be loaded more than once. Number 3 is new counter. Allocating a counter. Synopses are new counter of counter name and super counter in square brackets. The new counter command globally defines a new counter name. The counter name, the name consists of letters only and does not begin with the backslash. Name must not already be used by another counter. New counter is initialized to 0 if the optional argument of square bracket super counter appears, then the counter name will be numbered within or subsidiary to the existing counter of super counter. For example, ordinarily the subsection is numbered within section anytime supercomputer is incremented with the backslash step counter or ref step counter, then counter name is reset to 0. Number 4 is new length. Allocating a length, allocate a new length register. Synopses are new length of backslash argument. This command takes one required argument which must begin with a backslash. It creates a new length register named backslash arg, means argument, which is a place to hold rubber lengths such as 1 inch plus 0.2 inch minus 0.1 inch. The register gets an initial value of 0. The control sequence backslash argument must already be defined. Number 5 is new save box. Allocate a box, allocate a bin for holding a box. Its synopsis on new box of calibrated CMD. Define backslash CMD to refer to a new bin of storing boxes. Such a box is for holding type set material to use multiple times or to measure or manipulate. The name backslash CMD must start with the backslash and must not be already defined. The allocation of a box is globally. This command is freely. Number 6, new environment and renew environment. This command define or redefine our environment env that is begun in env and end in env. Instructions are new environment env nergs obdarg default big define and define. Similarly for asterisk and similarly for renew environment and renew environment asterisk. Unlike backslash new command and renew command, the asterisk form new environment asterisk and renew environment have the same fact as the forms with no asterisk. env required the environment name. It does not begin with the backslash. It must be begun with the string, and for the backslash new environment, the name env must not be the name of an already exist environment, and also the command backslash env must be undefined. For backslash renew environment, env must be the name of an existing environment. Nuts. Optional and integer from 0 to 9 denoting the number of arguments of that environment will take. These arguments appear after the begin, as in begin environment argument 1 into argument of n. If this argument is not present, then the default is for the environment to have no arguments. When defining an environment, the new version can have a different number of arguments than the old version. Obtarg default. Optionally, if this argument is present, then the first argument of the defined environment is optional with default value. Obtarg default. If this argument is not present, then the environment does not take an optional argument. That is when obtarg default is present in the environment definition. If begin of env is used with square brackets following as in begin env of square brackets myval, then within the environment of number 1 expands myval. If backslash begin of env is called without square brackets the following, then within the environment the number of 1 expands to the default obtarg default. In either case, any required arguments will be referred to starting with number 2 or omitting square brackets myval in the call is different from having square brackets with no contents as in square brackets. The former results in number of 1 expanding to obtarg default. The latter results in number of 1 expanding to the empty string begin define. Required. The text f expanded at every occurrence of the begin of env. A construct of the form number of n in big def is replaced by the text of the nth argument. Ndefn required the text expanded at every occurrence of end environment. Note that it may not contain any argument parameter, so number of n backslash of n cannot be used here. The environment env delimits the scope of the result of the expanding big defn and ndefn. Thus, in the first example below, the fact of the small is limited to the quote and it does not extend it to material following the environment. The example gives an environment like latex quotation. Expect that it will be set in smaller type. backslash new environment of small quote of percentage sign of small backslash begin of quotation and comment of end quotation. This shows the use of arguments. It gives a quotation environment that cites the other. Backslash new environment of site quote of number one Ashrafli and percentage and begin quotation no indent of text it of number of one and curly braces of percentage and end of quotation. The other name is optional and default to Ashraf Ali in the document. Use the environment SAR begin side quote of Lincoln and side quote. The final example shows the how to save the value of an argument and define. New save box of quote other and new environment of side quote of number one Ashraf Ali and percentage sign S box quote other of number one percentage and begin quotation percentage sign H space of number one EM plus one fill use box quote other and end quotation. Number 7 is new theorem. Defines a new theorem like environment. Its synopses are new theorem of name title numbered within new theorem name numbered like of title. Both create a theorem like environment name using the first form. The new theorem name title and numbered with the optional argument after the second required argument creates an environment whose counter is subordinate to the text counter numbered within it will be reset when numbered within is reset. Using the second form new theorem of name numbered like title with the optional argument between the two required arguments will create an environment whose counter will share the previously defined the counter numbered like. You can specify one of the numbered within a numbered like or neither but not both. This command creates a counter named name. In addition, unless the optional argument numbered like is used, the current ref value will be that of then the numbered within this declaration is globally arguments name the name of environment. It must not begin with the backslash. It must not be the name of the existing environment. Indeed, the command name of backslash name must not already be defined as anything. Title. The text printed at the beginning of the environment before the number. For example, the theorem numbered within backslash within. Optional. The name of an already defined counter usually are sectional units such as chapter or section. When the numbered within counter is reset, then the name of environment's counter will also be reset. If this optional argument is not used, then the command the name backslash the name is set to the Arabic name of name numbered like optional. The name of an already defined theorem like environment. The new environment will be numbered in sequence with numbered dash like without any optional arguments. The environments are numbered sequentially. This example has a declaration in the preamble that results in definition of 1, definition of 2 in the output. The backslash new theorem of definition begin document section begin define first of definition of end definition section begin define second definition of end define. Because this example specifies the optional argument numbered dash within to new theorem as section, the example with the same document body gives definition 1.1 and definition 2.1. New theorem definition section begin document section begin define first definition end definition section begin definition second definition end define. In this example there are two declarations in the preamble, the second of which calls for new THM theme environment to this use. the same counter as defn. It gives definition 111 followed by the theorem 211 and definition 212. New theorem defn definition section. New theorem theme defn of theorem. Begin document section. Begin defn first definition of end definition defn n section. Begin theme first theme end theme. Begin defn second definition and defn. Number 8, new font. Define a new font. Obsolete new font. No absolute defines a command that will switch fonts. Instances are new font /cmd font description. This defines a control sequence /cmd that will change the current font. Latex will look on your system for a file name footname.tfm. The control sequence must not already be defined. It must begin with the /. This command is obsolete. It is a low-level command for setting up an individual font. Today, fonts are almost always defined in families through the so-called new font selection scheme, either by choosing .f defaults or through the use of the engine that can access system fonts such as Latex. But since it is part of Latex, here is an explanation. The font description consists of a font name and an optional that clause. This can have the form either at a diamond or scaled factor, where a factor of 1000 means no scaling. For Latex purpose, all this does is scale all of character and other font dimensions relative to the font's design size, which is value of defined in the .tfm file. This example defines two equivalent fonts and typesets a few characters in each. New font of text font at CMB 10 at 11 point. New font text font scaled CMB 10 scaled 11 point. Text font at ABC text font scaled ABC. Number 9 is protector. All Latex commands are either fragile or abortive footnotes, line breaks, and any other command that has optional argument, and many more are fragile. A fragile command can break when it is used in the argument to certain commands. To prevent such command from breaking, they must be preceded by the command protector. For example, when Latex runs this section of name command, it writes the section name text to .exe file, moving it there for use elsewhere in the document, such as in the table of contents. Any argument that is internally expanded by Latex without typesetting it directly is referred to as a moving argument. A command is fragile if it can expand during this purpose into invalid text code. Some examples of moving arguments are those that appear in the caption command, in the thanks command, and in add expression in the tabular and array environments. If you get strange errors from commands used in moving arguments, try preceding it with /protect. Every fragile command must be protected with their own protect, although usually a protect command does not hold length. Commands are robust and should not be preceded by a protect command, nor can a protect command be used in the argument to add to counter or set to counter command. In this example, the caption command gives a stress error about extra curly braces. First, fix the problem by preceding each raise box command with protect. Begin figure caption A raise box 1 point of B raise box of -1 point of C and figure. In the next example, the table of contents command gives an error because the / in the section title expands to legal text in the .talk file. You can solve this by changing / to the / protect of / small bracket of backslash protect. Friends, thanks for listening. We have a good day and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thanks.